for another Sunday evening with you. Your host this evening is still glad to see that we are here. We are alive and free. Your host, Dr. Josephine Marshall Jr.
What's up, Lady E? What's up, Lady E? How are you? How you doing? How you doing, street soldiers everywhere? Here we are once again trying to keep you alive and free. Street Soldiers Radio, the one, the only. I'll just Mike just knows and Ann just knows. Brother was in the studio, right? And he came up and, man, I love what you're doing, man.
Hey, you're a legend,
man. Keep it up, man. Don't ever stop.
Hey, man.
Don't tell me that.
I'm just gonna let you know, Miss Ann, Lady Estelle, and Dr. Marshall, you guys are staples of the community, and you guys are legends. I get more love being on the air with you all than I do being on Camille all day, all week. They be like, you be on Street Soldiers. I know you. Oh. They don't say you be on Camille. They be like, you be on Street Soldiers. Hey, man, I'm just keeping it real.
All right, man. I got to get him another hoodie.
Yeah, give me another hoodie, please. Thank you, my brother.
Hey, brother, I ain't got, you look, it's better to give
than receive.
And that's really true. Giving makes you feel good, right? You know that, right?
It do.
It does. It does. It really does. It do.
It really do.
And you don't give to get something back. You give just to do it.
When I feed people, it feel awesome.
Yeah.
I got some gumbo for you next week. I swear to God. I got some gumbo for y'all next week.
Yeah.
Keep him happy, man. Keep him happy. I like this mic.
Oh, you like?
I like this mic.
Hey, you know, man.
Playing with you, brother.
You know.
Sir Michael.
Oh, wow.
We're going to have to knight the brothers. All right, everybody. Let's get into it. Lady, I got to ask you first, because there are 9 dead and nearly 1 million without power as winter storms blast the U.S. What's it like down there in
where's she at?
Dallas, right outside of Dallas.
Oh, she in
cold. I mean, Keller, it's cold. It's cold. I had to go outside and sit in my car 30 minutes, let it warm up, because if it gets too cold,
that's true.
The car won't start, the battery, full tank of gas so that the gas line won't freeze and sit in that car. I'm like, baby, we are not used to this kind of weather, okay? Woo.
That's why you need to come back to Cali.
Oh.
What are we doing?
I'm going.
What are we doing?
No, she ain't go back to Cali.
She not?
No, okay. No, a lot of them grandkids down there.
Hey, what did LL Cool J say? I don't think so.
And Malcolm is in California, and he has a pimp coat on.
he got the burgundy, the royal burgundy on. Look at it.
Hey, you know I don't like pimps, Mike. So it ain't nothing to do with that.
I'm just saying.
I'm just cold, brother. I'm just cold. Bay Area cold. I'm not saying that it's East Coast cold.
When the Bay Area gets cold, it's chilly, but it's nothing like this. So the temperature says it is 20. No, 17 feels like 7.
What does that mean?
That means 7. That means that when the wind blows, the wind chill.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have your temperature, and then you have the wind chill. Now, the wind chill is what you live with, okay? That's what you feel when you go outside. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. What the chill is what you're living with.
I'm going to tell you what it means, Mike. It means when you get dressed, you find the thickest socks you can find.
Okay.
You get what they call long johns or the long underwear.
Thermals. Okay? You get the thermals.
You get that? You get that too?
You get the heavy jeans.
Socks?
Yeah. Yeah, you
and the boots. Yeah. You get the scarf. You get the hat with the ears. You get the gloves.
And you get the Frank Lucas coat.
All that. And you still cold.
Right. And you don't stay out long.
But you know what? Your hair look good.
No.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love California, because I mean,
that's
why would I be out there doing all that?
Because you want to buy a house.
You want to, play. You want snowball fights and all that kind of thing.
A little more money than that $5,000 apartment you paying for, as big as this room right here.
Studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Downtown San Francisco.
All right, I did get a text message from Charles Robinson, one of our alumni who was in Nashville, Tennessee, and he said, "Doc, I just want you to know we safe. We
Thank
safe.
you.
We safe." He said the power been out all morning, but that we're safe. So people snowed in, people can't get home, and as I said, I saw reports that there are 9 dead. Let's get this out the way quick.
Oh man,
The great game today. One was great. One was a casualty of the weather, but it's going to be the New England Patriots and the Seattle Supersonics. Listen to me, basketball. The Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
I haven't watched any sports.
The game was great. The Seattle game was great.
I barely even knew Jimmy Butler got injured.
Wow,
I haven't been watching any sports.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I haven't been.
I know you've been working in a recipe so you can cook for us.
Doc,
I got you. But that's what's up.
Yeah,
Patriots and the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Okay.
hey, all I know is that they get to the 1-yard line, give Marshawn the ball this time. Or whoever it is.
Well, there's only one Marshawn.
Okay.
Walker
Give
Jr.
the running back the ball this time, Seattle. Come on.
All right, let's get a couple of news stories in real quick. Obviously, what's dominating the news is the shooting in Minneapolis by ICE of this gentleman, which is just horrible, 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 horrible. There's always he deserved it or he didn't, and you know what I think, but there's so many video angles out there, much as like the shooting of what's the Renee Good? Is that her name? Like 2 weeks ago, right? Or 3 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago, yeah.
So it's ugly. It's ugly. It's ugly. It's gonna get uglier. Terrible. People are dying, right? And so
rest in peace to Alex Preddy, I think is his last name.
Yeah.
Who in my mind was out there doing something heroic.
Absolutely, just sickening. And we could jump into that. We got another topic tonight, but we have to talk about everybody. What I want to say, stay aware. Yeah, stay aware. The people who want to bury their head in the sand, that ain't cool.
Well, and
that's not cool.
Know what you saw with your eyes, right? No, don't let all these politics and things on TV tell you something different.
People don't want to know. You better know. You got to know what's going on because it's just right around. It could be you. You
have to know.
You have to know.
You can't be scared. You have to know what's going on because this is real, right? This is real life. Like
this is.
God.
This is. I mean, this is. Yeah. What they talking about is a civil war, apocalypse. I mean, and so yeah. All right. So, I saw a statement from Alex's family.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was really, 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 really tough. So inhumane. The whole thing is inhumane. As I don't, just sickening. We will be obviously keep our eye on that as we move forward with the show because something happens every day.
And just Doc, let me say, I talked to a couple of people in Minneapolis, and they say it's beyond scary in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we're removed. Obviously, we're paying attention, but it's not happening here. This is.
That's the problem. It's happening here. It's just not happening here.
I mean,
right.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
In that city are dealing with it in real time. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And I talked to a couple people who are there, and they said it's just you have no idea. It's beyond scary.
Oh yeah. Right no, well, we got a show, so it's another topic. But I hate that I didn't understand what happened to me. No, you understand now, right? Because that is you, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. That is you. That is me.
Yep.
It is here.
It is here. It is here. It ain't got to be right here to be here, right? Because this is a human thing, as far as I'm concerned, the way we look at street soldiers. Let me just, on a nice note, Sinners, the movie, broke the all-time Oscar nomination record with, take a guess, how many?
400.
13.
Oh.
16 nominations. 16 nominations. including Best Picture, Director, Supporting Actress, Actor in a Supporting Role, Original Screenplay. I'm not going to read all 16. The highest before was 12, or was it 12? Well, 14, I'm sorry. Held by 3 films. I just say that because we'll be, obviously this is a big deal for
What's your
the
favorite
film.
movie of all time?
Well, let me finish with this. Let me finish with this. But somebody that is a Bay Area, other than of course, right, Google it. Somebody that, yeah, Delroy Lindo finally got his nomination
Yes.
for an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Acting supporting award. And if people don't know who Delroy Lindo is, like I don't know, I'm where you live in Oakland. Whoop, Delroy, I'm sorry, put your business out there. Okay, you live in Oakland. But if you saw Malcolm X, he was West Indian Archie. And my favorite one is him in The Five Bloods.
He was so good in that.
Founding in that.
That's why I had to do the little
nominated.
My
got to give it
favorite
up
one
dance.
was him in Crooklyn.
Yeah,
He was the dad in
He was the dad in Crooklyn, right? Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a good movie.
So Delroy, congratulations. I hope you listen, brother. Maybe. Yeah, I should. Let me see if I can call him and get him to do a little cameo right here.
You gonna call him up?
Not now. But I'm gonna try and call him
Maybe
now.
next week.
I used to have a number. Brothers be changing number. Yeah. But Delroy, congratulations, man. You deserve it.
Great actor.
All these years, you are just one of the best character actors ever. Okay. Do I have any more news I want to report on? I have it, but I'm not. We got to get into our show. Our guests have joined us.
I'm gonna share something amazing that happened this week,
Go
and
ahead.
it's Mr. Fab celebrated his birthday
Oh yeah,
at Yoshi's in Oakland, and my goodness, it was amazing.
Oh wow.
The house was full.
Let him know. Kev Choice, shout out Kev Choice.
Kev Choice, the soul singer.
Oh yeah, she go crazy.
I wish I knew all the names of
Not
the.
Hey, Nate was there.
On the
Hey,
drum.
that's our sister right there.
Shout out my guy Omega. Yeah.
The gentleman who was like the singer with her, I was blown away. It's so beautiful to listen to music with live instruments. I knew the words.
And you know what? It's just shout out to them because sometimes we hear live instruments and live music, it don't sound good. It's just they just do whatever they do. But Kev Choice be sounding immaculate.
Kev can play.
They sound immaculate.
Yeah.
It's a soul singer. Shout out to her. Shout out to Omega. That's my guy. He be on the drums. And everybody that be doing their thing, man. And happy birthday, Mr. Fab and Jay Styling.
Ann was in the mix, man. Ann was there. Look,
You was in the building too. I seen you. You was doing it get low. I seen you.
How was that?
You was
That's a
doing the
big
thizzle dance.
Okay, I was trying to get Ann over there because I had the kids at the club. All right,
You was at the side show.
I gotta go.
Well, thank you for that because it was amazing. It was definitely an experience, and everyone was dancing and singing. It was all love. It was just real Bay Area. So just go to Yoshi's, check it out. Go eat some good food,
Ann had a
good
good
music.
time. Ann had a good time. Ann had a good time.
Yeah.
All right. One more shout out to the Freedom Braiders.
Yes.
Had their another graduation ceremony with the young women at Santa Rita Prison.
Yeah.
They had an 8-week class with them. It was, I'll tell you more about that later, but Joanna Hernandez, you are amazing. We're gonna have you back on during Women's History Month. The work you were doing, and the women there are so grateful that you come in, teach them how to braid, but also teach them how to stay alive,
heal,
and free.
Right?
Yeah,
Healing.
it's beautiful.
She be doing her thing.
Oh, she don't play.
She taught me how to do her people hair with a butter knife.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
she go crazy.
Yeah, I ain't got no hair, so I can't get braided. Okay, let's turn it into.
But it's all love.
It's all love. I used to have some a long time ago. All right. The topic tonight, this is Human Trafficking Month. It is Human Trafficking, say that right again, Awareness Month. This is sort of now it's become like an annual show that we do. We did it last year at this time. And so we have our guests with us. We're going to explore as much as we can about human trafficking, answer any questions that you have about it. And especially if there's anything, any concerns. We have our guests in this, I think in there with we got everybody in, right? We got everybody in. I'm looking for my paper to get everybody's name. All right. Um, joining us tonight to talk about human trafficking is Jennifer here? Jennifer, you here? Jennifer?
Yes.
All right, Jennifer, here. There you are, Jennifer, from Jennifer Lyle, PhD. I let him PhD.
Yes.
Girl, you call yourself Dr. Lyle?
Dr. Lyle. Sometimes.
Girl, I use
You can
mine. I
include
pay
it,
for that.
okay?
I pay a lot for my PhD. I'll be using it. Okay, so don't be
It
shy.
depends on who's asking.
Okay,
You got to
all right.
pay for your PhD?
You gotta go to
It's
school.
blood, sweat, and
Why,
tears.
Well, that shows who has one and who doesn't right there, I guess, huh?
That's why, see.
Gotta do
Sorry,
it.
Mike.
Jason, you got look, getting a PhD ain't no joke, bro.
Okay, got you.
Okay,
That's
is that right?
crazy.
Is that right, Dr. Lyle? All right. We have Corinne Williams from Love Never Fails. Hello, Corinne. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, all right. And we have Mitzi Sanchez, also from Love Never Fails.
Hi everyone. Again,
Thank
also
you.
thank you for having us here. Super excited.
Oh, we're gonna have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful conversation about a very, very difficult topic. We'll be joined in the second hour by Megan Escoto. Is that right? From Redemption House of the Bay Area, and possibly Francesca Gonzalez from Freedom Forward. Is that right?
That's right. Freedom Forward and the
Okay.
Hype Center.
Okay, and the Heights.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight because the work that you are doing is incredibly important. We see it on social media. We see you on your website. So thank you for sharing with us tonight on Street Soldiers Radio.
Jennifer, why don't you begin by telling us, see if you can tell us about your organizations. Let's get Dr. Lyle. If I say it enough, she'll be used to it.
Missy.
Tell her what Missy does, and we'll sort of just get a brief statement from each of you, and then we'll try and draw up some calls. She wants to talk about human trafficking, but Jennifer, tell us about Missy and your position there.
Yeah, I can, we're from two different organizations, so I can
Okay, no,
yeah. But
that's why I say Dr. Lyle, because I got Missy and Mitzi. So this is Dr. Lyle. You
That's
start and talk about MISSSEY.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead. Thank you. I'm from Missy, and that's the MISSSEY. And we have been around for almost 2 decades. So we're celebrating our 19th year this year. And we are a Black, women-led survivor organization that serves youth who have been sex trafficked or exploited. We primarily focus on girls and gender-expansive youth. And we provide a variety of services. So we provide transformation coaching, we provide housing, emergency housing, housing stability. We provide emergency food. We provide training and support in schools with families. And we look at how we are able to provide support on our new campus. We just have the Nairobi campus, which means star in Swahili. And we basically really try to provide safe, caring adults in these young women's lives. So that they can have support and services and healing as they transition their lives.
Thank you. And you are the?
I am the executive director of Missy.
All right. How long you been with them?
I've 7 years.
Okay.
November.
Okay. Thank you. It's tough work, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Then let's hear a little bit from Corinne and Mitzi, all right, of Love Never Fails, and tell us about your organization and what you do.
Of course, yes. Well, my name is Mitzi. I'm the education coordinator for Love Never Fails. My role is to do our human trafficking 101 presentations, going out into the community, into the schools, teaching our youth about being safe online, having safe boundaries, healthy relationships, and just really starting the conversation in areas where maybe the conversation hasn't been started yet. So, Love Never Fails, we're an anti-human trafficking organization. Our mission is to help people pursue their best sense of humanity through education, outreach, housing as well. We have a lot of really great resources at Love Never Fails. We have a IT Biz Tech Academy, which helps with, creating those economically stable jobs, and really just empowering our communities. I also work with our Speaker Bureau, which is an awesome group of survivor leaders that share their story of overcoming during some of our presentations. I work on presentations with them. And it's just really it's such an honor to work with an organization that does so much of uplifting in the community. We do street outreach 5 days a week. We have a 24/7 prayer hotline. We're just trying to get as connected as you can and provide as much support. But that's just a little bit of a little scope of all the great things that Lone River Fields does.
Amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Corinne, what would you like to add?
Yes, I'm a resident of Love Never Fails. I've been with them since August 29th, 2024. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. It was when I was 14 years old. I'm 24 now, but the long-term impact that it had on my life, I needed somewhere where I can go to heal with people who understood me. And at that time, I was still trying to build my relationship with God. And this was a program for that. It's very spirit-led here. So yeah, no, I'm here and I'm empowering other women and helping them go through the healing journey just as I did.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's get into it. I read this definition. Actually, I got this from Redemption House.
Yeah.
And it says that the definition of human trafficking, the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of people through force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of labor or sex. All right. Then this is their website. Forms of human trafficking include sex trafficking, forced sexual acts or commercial sex, and labor trafficking, forced labor in industry. So that they cover all of that. Key element: coercion or deception. Right? Victims are manipulated, threatened, uh, deceived, and cannot freely leave the situation. Consent is irrelevant if coercion is present. Now that's there. Is that close? Is there some elements in there that are? What would each of you say about that definition?
I would add to the first part of the definition that anybody under the age of 18 forced into commercial sex, that is human trafficking, whether force, fraud, or coercion is present. So you don't need proof of force, fraud, or coercion if the survivor is under 18 and under. So I think that's super important to know. Because other than that, you have to have proof of force, fraud, or coercion. But also, a lot of times, survivors have experienced all three.
Okay, okay. And is that Corinne? Is that Jennifer? Is that definition close to?
Yes.
Uh,
Anybody who's under the age, even if they said it was their choice, a child is not capable of making those decisions. And their brain's not fully developed at all either. So I do believe that that is the definition of trafficking, whether you're under 18 or not.
Let me throw the number out right now. 877-955-1061. 877-955-1061. Questions, concerns, thoughts about human trafficking. We got some folks in the house that can enlighten you and give you help. Give you help. Give you help. Um, I think I said this when we were on the show last time. And Mike, I'm sure you're familiar with this, and I'm sure all of you are. One evening, I just did not want to drive from, I guess, what's it, Hayward or Union City or San Leandro, somewhere out there. Didn't want to drive back up 880. So I got off on 96 and I drove all the way up International, formerly known as E14. And I'm 66. I'm hitting High Street, I'm hitting Fruitvale. And by the time I got to the 20s, uh, the whole scenery changed.
Mm.
And I was kind of used to the old San Pablo thing, the corridor over in Oakland, but they were lined up from 20th all the way down to the first. Um, uh, is are there and Ann, you're in Vallejo, you've seen.
Oh, I see it, and I don't know how to explain it to my daughter, and then the kids, because the second graders are like, "How come she doesn't have clothes on?" And I'm like, "Oh," But I have those hard conversations with my second grader. So, but we see it. We definitely see it.
What's the extent of human trafficking? We're in the Bay Area. I mean, I know it's around the world, but what's the extent of it here? And can you give us some idea about that? Any of you?
By extent, what do you mean?
How bad is it? Is it everywhere? I mean, yeah, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to, yeah.
it's everywhere. I believe even in like Danville, there was a big trafficking ring recently that was just caught. I think it was over like 300 people, if I'm not incorrect. But yeah, it's everywhere and it happens every day. People are being stolen from their homes or kids or talking to people like with my situation. I was talking to a guy who I thought, I was just gonna go hang out with, and then I did not make it back home. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's very common.
I suppose you have heard every story there is to hear when it comes to human trafficking. Let's see, I see you want to jump in and say something. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh,
Oh no, go ahead. Go
Mitzi.
ahead. Sorry.
This what you're talking about when you say the extent of it. I think that invites a broader question, and that is why does it exist,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it doesn't exist just because people are on the street. It exists because people don't have housing, people don't have safe adults in their life, people have needs around food, and then there's a general, larger disregard for the lives of women and girls. So, and a lot of times we call it a pimp culture, but actually, pimp culture exists within a world in the United States that supports that, right? So, I heard, Anne, I think you were talking about how you have a conversation with your second grader. I think I have a 13-year-old, and we have to have conversations about how did these young people get here,
Mhm.
right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I would like to exploit myself
Mhm.
and expose myself to extreme danger
Yeah.
on a daily basis and pain and harm. So, and the conditions that were set up for people to be there started prior to people ever getting on the street or into hotels, right? So we have young women, young girls who are being pushed out of schools.
Mhm.
Um, they're in foster care systems that unfortunately can't support them in a way that they should be supported. So there's all kinds of social conditions that set it up. And when you talk about the extent of it, when we look at it, Missy really focuses on serving black girls because we know that they're the most likely in the United States to be um, coerced into sex trafficking.
Mhm.
And that aligns with the conditions and the experiences of black girls within the United States.
I love that phrase you use, disregard for women and girls. I think, you know, and we, our thing is a risk factor for
Mhm.
violence woman is a negative view of women. We call it that, right? That's our word for it. But I love the way you put it, disregard for women and girls. Um, Missy, you want to say something also before I?
Yeah, I think Jennifer brought up a really amazing point about talking about vulnerabilities. That's the main reason and person or situation that traffickers are targeting, somebody that has a vulnerability or is in a vulnerable situation, whether that's like Jennifer mentioned, housing, economic instability, even mental health, those who may be differently able, the LGBTQIA plus community is also very vulnerable. So targeting people that are in vulnerable situations, and I think there's definitely some lack in, as a community, we should be doing more to support those who may be in that vulnerable situation. Um, but and for the question of the extent of human trafficking, it's honestly such a hard question because it's so underreported because of the fact that survivors may be fearful to even report what's happening because of maybe their trafficker, maybe they're fearful of law enforcement, maybe they're just fearful to talk about, or they're not ready to talk about the situation. So it makes it really difficult to like give you an exact number. Um, but definitely something that can happen to anybody. Though there are people who may be more vulnerable to being exploited. Really, there have been cases of people from like middle economic status families who come from a two-parent home that may have had maybe some vulnerabilities that a trafficker saw in the moment, whether that was seeing those vulnerabilities on their social media, or maybe somebody was going playing games online, creating friendships online. It's crazy how traffickers will approach people and really take um, advantage of a person's vulnerabilities.
For me, I think is sort of just I don't know the word. It's just that i- the young women, we see them in the daytime, right? It's the morning when we're driving to work or driving to school, and we see them, and there's like nothing being done to help them or to stop it. It is really out there in the open, and it's like it just blows my mind how the officers aren't stopping this. And then for us in Vallejo in October, there was a murder of a young woman, Raina Lewis, who was 28 years old and taken and then um, and murdered. And I saw her, I would see her, and then where it happened is near the Safeway that we go to. And so it just was really close to home, as in this is a real person, right? These
Mhm.
young women are real people, and really, and the lives are endangered and just uh really crazy ways that and if we don't acknowledge them or look at them, or like I just um like I just don't know how can we help people, right? How do we help our young people when we see that they're in danger, even if they don't see it?
I like when you said that, Jennifer, people aren't born into doing this, right? And I'll give you a totally different but parallel example. I had uh, at our meeting with the kids, I had this young man, who got caught up in the streets. Basically, he ain't no more. He figured it out. But I asked him, uh, when did you when did you go there? When did it start for you? And he basically said, I was about 11 years old. And I said, why did you do it? Well, he said, I looked around. My mama, we didn't have no money. So,
Mm,
for him, it was like, I'm the man of the house, So I decided that I needed to do something. And he says, unfortunately, I picked the wrong thing to do.
mm,
But I was everybody. I saw the streets. I saw the money, this, you know, and that's why. So the word I use is that his mind, he was led to think that was the way for him
mm,
to
mm,
make things better. Now, obviously, it wasn't. Uh, uh, but and as far as the extent is concerned, it's worldwide. I know. I mean,
yeah.
I had a gentleman from Thailand that I had a long talk with, and he was talking about human trafficking. Like, man, I mean, so um, it's do people? I don't know. I don't care really how people feel because
Mm,
but what do people think about it? Do they think what do they feel sorry for them, or do they like,
mm,
they doing what they got? I mean, just what do you see? Oh, a
mm.
lady Estelle got her hands up, so jump
Okay.
in. Go ahead.
I've got two hands up
Man.
because I want to go back to something that Ann said. She said, "How do we help young people, young women, or these young girls who are in danger and can't see or don't recognize that they're in danger?" And like the stories that are being told, I have a story too. I went to a basketball game. My grandsons, 16 and 15, both of them play basketball. And grandparents and parents fill the bleachers. And a group of girls ran from one side of the gym to the other side. And one of the girls tripped and fell and hit her head. And she fell in such a horrible way between the bleachers, and her head hit the bleacher. Bow. And her neck went like it was like it was just horrible. And so she jumped up, and she continued to move, go over where this young boy was. Young man, okay. They're all kids for me. I'm gray haired. All right. So I get up and I go over to her. Everybody else sat there and they looked. They were horrified because she could have snapped her neck. It
Yep.
was just that bad. And I went to her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she, her ego, her pride, that teen state, she just like blew me off like, what is this old lady? And then the girls that were with her, they were laughing at the little old lady who had the nerve to get up and come over and see how she was doing. And so she just blew me off big. And I stood there for a minute because I ain't scared. Kids don't. I work with young people. I recognize what you're doing. I said, "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm fine," she said. "All right. Did she recognize?" No, she didn't recognize, but did she? Yes, she absolutely. And so later on, when I was taking my granddaughter out to get some concession, the girl walked up to me and said, "Was it that bad?" She said, "Was the fall that bad?" And I said, "Not only was the fall that bad, you could have been severely injured. Your neck, your head, it could end up with a concussion. And all that you were chasing, what was that for?" And then when somebody came to help you, to see about you, to show they cared, what did you do? Yes, I did. I put it right in her face. And she said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." So that question, what can we do to let for young people who are in danger? She was chasing the boy because he looked at her and said, "What are you?" He just dogged her out. Okay. Did she recognize that she was in danger? What are you chasing after? What is that for? Was it worth it what you just experienced? And what could result from what could come as a result of the choice that you made?
Wow.
That's a big question.
Wow.
What can we do? Because I went. People looked at me like I had lost my mind. I don't care what people think. Because that girl, we could have had her on a stretcher and she had no idea. It's just that serious. And I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What can we do when someone is in danger? Is there something we can do? And they don't recognize it, but we can see it. What suggestions or feedback do you have? And then we can go to Dr. Marshall's question. Because we've got young people who are listening,
Oh
who
yeah.
won't call in, who that could have been their story. She could have been chasing. What could I have said?
We've got young people who've been kidnapped, right? I've heard the stories right here on the show, right? Kidnapped. standing on East 14th. I'm still called East 14th at the bus stop, being kidnapped and taken out to hotels, and there's all kinds of stories when it comes to human trafficking. But feel free to jump in with all of this, please. And you can call in 877-955-1061. One thing we know when we do a topic like this, people are listening.
Yeah.
They're learning, and you're the teachers. You are literally the teachers about this issue, which
That's why I
goes
wanted to go back
underreported,
to that.
which goes underreported, uh, much like domestic violence goes underreported. And this is your work, this is your life. But feel free, go ahead, Corinne, Jennifer, jump in. Lady's question was, what can we do? And just what have you seen?
I think similar to what you did, just going up to people and even just saying hi. I know with our outreach team, building rapport with maybe some of the people that we're working with, building rapport, showing them that we care. That's just the first step. Because I think it's important too that we meet all of our survivors where they're at. Because we might think we know what they need, and we might have a really awesome resource for them, but they might not be ready to take that resource, but they know that there's that person that's coming every week to the same spot to give them a kit, a dignity kit, to have a conversation with them, to just put their hand on them and show that they love them. Like just being in that moment, talking to them. Um, I think that's a really, at least where we do with like our outreach team, being consistent, building that rapport, um, just having a conversation with somebody. Um, and then I know for us, we have these bracelets. They say like you are loved on the bracelet, but on the inside of our bracelet, it's actually our phone number hidden in the inside so that if they need services, they can access them when it's safe. Because we never know who might be around the person that we might think may be a victim of trafficking. So we have to, make sure that we're keeping them safe. And who knows what could happen if the trafficker saw us giving them our card. But with this, it's a bracelet, but it's also a really important resource as well. But I think, like you said, like I in your story, I noticed like she went back to you because you checked in on her, and you built that rapport with her, even if it was just that one question, like, how are you? Like, are you okay? She might have been hesitant at first, but because she felt that concern from you, she went back and like talked to you again. And I think that's such a big step that um is super helpful. But I know for us, we also really work on education. Getting into the schools is not as easy as it sounds. You may think like, oh,
No, I know how schools are. They figure they
yeah,
don't need no help.
yeah. So it's super hard, but it's so important because we teach about like healthy boundaries, online safety. We talk about like healthy relationships, talking about what human trafficking is because it's such a I feel like taboo topic to talk about in schools, but it's such an important conversation to have because traffickers are going out and not just meeting people in person, but it's online. And all of the youth right now are online video game platforms, Snapchat, social media, Instagram. So teaching students in schools some of this information, I think, is what we can do. And also, advocating for more legislation that is going to be supporting survivors as well. There was legislation that just
Hold on with the legislation because I want to.
oh
But there's two
oh no
aspects to this. There's
yeah.
but there is getting young women out of it,
Mm,
and then the part that I'm as interested in is preventing them from getting into it in the first place.
Mhm.
Because I always say about you know I don't like rescuing people because sometimes I can't rescue them. Sometimes they drown, right? And so uh, feel free to put all of that in there because this is not just awareness; it is prevention also. I always say I want to put myself out of business, so I don't have to I'm gonna stop the violence is what we're talking about here.
There's
Lady, I think
something
you ready. Go ahead.
there's something that you said that gave me a tool. You just gave me a tool. You talked about a dignity kit. I don't know what's in that kit, but the word dignity. Because I am around kids all the time, young people, because of my going to the basketball games, watching my grandsons. And these girls are, and you can't talk to them. You can't, they're different. They're very different nowadays than they were back in my day, and the day after that, and the day after that. It's like, oh my goodness. But to maintain your dignity, for me just to have a few words to say that will get their attention.
Mm.
Where's your dignity? Hold on to your dignity. Because they were chasing that boy, and that boy didn't have any, he was none nice at all. He was rude and crude. She almost broke her neck, and he was nasty to her. It's like, get your dignity. I need to find a way to use that word so that the girls who hear it will stop and think.
I'm gonna hop in. Corinne, I don't know. I think I saw you wanting to hop in, so I want to let you go
Yeah,
first.
thank you.
Oh, Mitzi almost covered it, like everything I had to say about like what we can do to stop it. And I was just gonna say like what both of them said, make them feel safe because I know when I was out there, like the cops will treat you like you're the criminal.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like I'm a child out here, and if I make any gestures or look like I'm going to do anything, then my life is at risk. So just, making them feel safe and getting on their level. I went like a few months ago just to go pray. The Lord like moved me to just go walk down East 14th and pray. And just by me doing that, there was a group of teenagers standing at the Jack in the Box on the Blade. And just by me sitting there, like, hey, I used to be out here. This happened to me. And it was enough to make them all walk home. So just making them feel safe and getting on their level,
Wow.
making them feel ashamed.
Really?
And
Make
I
them
want,
walk home.
so I want,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that you said that. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name on the. I'm sorry, because I don't
No.
want to just refer you to. What is it?
Lady E, we call her Lady Estelle.
Lady
Oh,
Estelle.
let me
I'm
change my
sorry.
name. Sorry. There it is.
So I think that there's a conversation about dignity that's really important, and to talk about what it means. So I can tell you that if I had done something like that in public and my parents had seen me, I would have been shamed, shamed, shamed. And I would have been told, "Where's your dignity?" Right? And I have a lot of people who say to me, "How can I keep my daughter from getting into that?" And what I understand about my parents and their response is if they had seen me do something like that, they would have been terrified. They would have been terrified. They would have been worried. They would have been worried about what everybody would have thought, right? Because that's what they learned. They learned taking care of me is preventing those kinds of things happening for me, and for me to do it in a particular way. We haven't done a great job, and I think that I appreciate your story because we haven't done a great job of saying, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" Because she was mortally, mortally embarrassed about what happened. And you knew that. You knew that she had that reaction. And she will not forget that you took a moment to talk to her, to care that something happened to her, right? Because she is also a teenager. And no matter where we go, we're going to see teenagers behaving like that because their frontal lobes are not developed, right? We know that. We know that we have to take particular care for them. But we know that we also have to do something particular about, what Mitzi's saying, these girls who are vulnerable. Because nobody is saying to them, "You are so important. You deserve never to be shamed. You deserve to have every protection in the world." Because I can tell you that a girl who hears that all day, every day, will never be out on the street. Never. If someone is protecting you and watching out for you and creating circumstances, so if we stop talking about what's wrong with these girls and we start talking about what's wrong with systems that are not protecting them, what's wrong with systems that commodify their bodies and make money off of their bodies. Because these young men are pimps and they're from the same circumstances, but they're not the ones that are making the big dollars. And we know that, right? So that's what we need to change. We need to tell schools to stop kicking our girls out because they're tired, because they're hungry, because they're ashamed or embarrassed. And we need to tell them how they should treat these girls. And we should tell them, no, there's something wrong if our schools are not educating these girls so that they are finishing,
Right.
right? Or
Yeah.
that a choice, that it's even a choice to go out on the street. Because I promise you, and I can tell you from my personal experience, that people know that it's dangerous, but
Got
it's
you.
less dangerous
Yes,
than
ma'am.
going home, or it's less dangerous than not eating that day. So we can reframe and use your example. How are you doing?
Right.
Hmm.
That's
Dr.
that's
Jennifer,
that's
let me just say, not only after we talked, when she came up to me and spoke to me, after I told her, and this is what you did, I said, now I repositioned her, the place where she hit her head, I put my hand on her head to let me, and I had a moment of prayer. Yes, I did. While everybody stood around, and baby, she stood right there and accepted it.
Of course. And
You
you
know,
showed that whole auditorium that that girl is worth your love.
Yes.
You showed them that, and she will not forget that.
with that being said, man, you guys are preaching right now. Um,
and
I
you
just
had
want
to
you
jump
guys,
in, Sir Mike. All right.
yeah, it's 8:55, but I just want people to know that young men have a responsibility to protect women as well.
That's where I was gonna
They
go.
do.
So like
Second hour.
it's just not about people being vulnerable. It's about young men recognizing the situation and understanding that they need to be uh a bigger person at that time.
They need to not traffic in the first place.
Well, I mean, yeah, but yeah,
Well, they need to be
Right?
checked
you're
and
right.
challenged and
You're
redirected and
right.
corrected. Next time the
No,
old lady's
it
going to
shouldn't
talk
come
to the
into
boy and
their
say, wait a
mind that
minute.
they're going to traffic somebody, but we'll get into that in the second hour. Tell them where we're going ahead. Thank you.
All right, so we are not done with the conversation. Come on and join us over on
Thank you,
YouTube
Dr.
Live
Jennifer.
at
Thank
Stay
you.
Alive and Free. And you can always take us on the go when you visit stayaliveandfree.org. And in the chat, you can send all your questions and share your comments. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Absolutely. Good evening. How are you? Hey, Vanessa, how are you? So good to see you. So yes, we run Freedom Forward. We have the Hype Center that stands for Helping Young People Elevate. And it is a multi-service drop-in center for young people. And it's truly made for and by young people with the voices of survivors and those with lived experiences that really came together and did a community needs assessment saying, what do young people in San Francisco need who have been system impacted, justice involved, and also, coming from street life economy, what do they need most? And what they really said is they needed a space that was low barrier, that was easy to access, and that had co-located services and resources under one roof so they didn't have to go all around the city. Not only to, waste their time and their energy to go all over city, but to really go into all of these different places to really trauma dump just to get their basic needs met. And so that is how Hype Center came to be. And so we do this all under the context of we are looking to prevent commercial sexual exploitation of young folks in the city of San Francisco and all over the Bay Area. And so the Hype Center is one of our initiatives in which we do this. And so it's co-location of services and resources under one roof. We're located at Potrero Hill, so at Potrero and 15th in San Francisco. And we have mental health services. We have alternative modalities of healing. So we bring in culturally relevant and indigenous aspects of healing, where it's, Reiki work, breath work, trauma-informed yoga, sound bowl healing. We try to really incorporate somatic healing into the work. We also have legal services. We have reproductive health rights services. We have housing, which is probably one of our biggest services that's accessed. And then on site, we also have shower, laundry, and a clothing boutique. And the clothing boutique has clothes, makeup, hygiene products. It has new parent products. It has really anything a young person could need. They can come in and access it for free. And it's for 14 to 24-year-olds. And so really we're trying to do all of this under, like I said, one roof, and to ensure that young people, when they walk in the door, they are treated with dignity and respect as a birthright, that it's not some type of transactional interaction that is needed. They don't have to perform anything. They don't have to, do anything in order to get their basic needs met. And we do all this, like I said, in order to prevent commercial sexual exploitation, because we do understand that there are the vulnerabilities and the intersections of the vulnerabilities that lead to exploitation. I know, Vanessa, you were touching upon that earlier. And that's one of the biggest tactics, is to really prey on the vulnerabilities of young people and to provide them with these, amenities, with these, makeup and clothing, and treating them, really well in the beginning. But then in the end, it's, becomes a very transactional, very dangerous relationship. And
I
so we
want to
really
ask
try
you
to get in
guys
front of
something.
it.
Hour number two, Alive and Free Street Soldiers Radio, now on the YouTube at
Stay alive and free.
Stay Alive and Free.
Yeah, so that was just a little snippet of one of our past radio shows, because we really want to share the resources that are available to our young people. And that was Francesca Gonzalez, who's doing amazing work at the Freedom Forward Center, Hype Center. So
In San
in
Francisco.
in San
Yeah.
Francisco, yes.
Yeah. Let's jump back into this conversation because it was a lot, a lot. Once again, this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we're discussing the human trafficking with our guest here, Dr. Jennifer Lyle from Missy, Corinne Williams from Love Never Fails, Mitzi Sanchez from Love Never Fails, and I think we have been joined, yes, by Megan Escoto. Did I say that right, Ann? I mean,
Yes.
Mitzi, Megan. I got so many M's here. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Thank you for joining us the second hour. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to this first hour. We were just getting rolling, but we had to take the break. We want to go back into it.
Yeah.
But Megan, just for you, why don't you begin just by saying what Redemption House is, what your mission is, and then we'll get right back into it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me on. So Redemption House, the Bay Area, the main office is located in Sonoma County, but we serve the Bay Area. We're a survivor-led organization. So the two co-founders are Elizabeth Quiroz and Lisa Diaz-McQuaid. And then I sit on their board as kind of like the social media community education person. And all of us are survivors, and we all have a little bit of a different story. But it started off as just a support group. It started off as a support group for survivors to come because they were often in other different types of support groups, like maybe AA or NA or domestic violence. But there is something unique to surviving human trafficking, that in those rooms and in those groups, they were having a hard time finding people who were relating or could kind of handle the complex trauma involved. And so the support group got started for people who are in it, people who are out of it. And that's how I found Redemption House, is I was using their services. And then I started volunteering, and now I'm a board member. And so now, in addition to the support services, We do street outreach. So we go to different areas that are impacted by human trafficking and do educational outreach. We do partner with Love Never Fails to, if somebody needs a bed or they need a place to go, and we do that street outreach, and we normally do it, with a little bit of a larger group for safety. And so we just take an approach of meeting people where they're at, maybe asking a couple questions, do you know what human trafficking is? Here's a little information card, and then we give them a purse with hygiene products in it. That might also include condoms. Sometimes we hand out Narcan. I'm an EMT as well, so when we go out to the street, we're handing out those types of basic needs. And then additionally, we also do community education for prevention purposes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to ask a question, and I'm relating it, to domestic violence, in the way I want to frame the question. And every time I do a show on domestic violence, generally at some point somebody calls in, well, men are getting hit too, right? And that's true. I also know that overwhelmingly it is men's violence against women, right? I know that. So, it, do young men get trafficked also?
Yes, they do. The dynamics may look a little bit different. Men are more likely to be labor trafficked than sex trafficked. And then it looks a little bit different in terms of that entry into trafficking may be through gang involvement. So we see a lot of coerced criminality with teenage boys. So some of these teenage boys, maybe they have an unstable home life, or their needs may not be being met, or they don't have like a stable figure in their life. And so some older man may step in as that father figure, and their needs get met, and then they have to give something in return. So a lot of times that may be go steal from the store, go sell drugs. You got to do something in return. And so we see that more in the form of coerced criminality, but it can also be, commercial sex as well.
Thank you. Let's for just let's just start. How and why? How do young women, and you gave us some idea of what happens with young men, but I want to, because it is, I think, uh, overwhelmingly young women that get in human trafficking. How do they get caught up? And I'm using the word caught up, right, in the first place. How does it happen? Uh, I know our guys get caught up in the street. I know that very, very well. I got an idea about how young women get caught up with these guys because they tell me, right? But I'm because they seem to tell me, people seem to tell me everything. Once you gain their trust and feel like, I don't know, you're genuine and you really want to help. But if you could just enlighten folks how young women get into that, or I call it caught up in that lifestyle. If I'm using the wrong phrase, please talk about it. Please say that. Can just enlighten folks, and especially those of you who have been there and done that, as they say, and want to do what they can to prevent young women and help them get out. So, Corinne, I guess Corinne and Megan, you want to, and anybody, all of you can go ahead. You heard it all.
Like how Mitzi was saying earlier, like it could be somebody in a middle class family, two-parent household. That was me. And I was just, I had my own insecurities, going through school, being bullied and stuff like that. So I was looking for attention. Anyway, I couldn't get it. So I went online, was talking to multiple people, started sneaking out, and then met the wrong person, said hi to the wrong person. And then I know a lot of girls like that used to be my friends who were coerced by other women as well. You will think somebody's your friend. They're like, hey, we're going to go link up with this guy, or I have a way we can get money. I know you said you were struggling, or I forgot who said it earlier. I think it was you were talking about your friend who wanted to make money for his mom. I know another young woman who also went out there trying to help her mom, pay rent and stuff like that. So there's so many different ways that, trafficking can start.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's vulnerabilities, right? We see some common denominators amongst survivors. So if you're familiar with ACEs, or average childhood experiences, our average survivor has an ACE score of 7. And about 50 to 80% have been involved in the foster care system. So one of our main common denominators is childhood abuse and neglect. There are things that raise the likelihood of child abuse and neglect. And so, like for me, I was a former foster youth. And so the abuse that I experienced as a child left me with a really low self-esteem. And yes, I was adopted into this middle class, well-to-do family, but that didn't erase the trauma. And then my adoptive parents didn't really know what to do to handle it. And so I met my trafficker when I was 19. And so he preyed on those vulnerabilities. You know, you're beautiful, you're smart, your parents don't care about you, isolating me from family and friends, got me to quit my job. And then I was trapped for the next 5.5 years. And so now, like, I work in child abuse prevention. And a lot of people come to me and they say, how can I prevent human trafficking? I want a human trafficking training. I said, but first you need to start with the child abuse prevention training, because that's one of the easiest way to prevent human trafficking. But it's also, we need to point out family involvement. About a third of our trafficking cases, the family members are the ones doing it, right? So we can protect people from the internet strangers, the intimate partner, their peers, but a third of those cases, it's coming from inside the house. And so we need to be able to recognize those vulnerabilities really early on when a child is at risk of being exploited by their own family.
Glad you said that, because one thing I've learned, the one thing I've learned with all of this is that anybody can get caught up. One parent, two parent, hood, suburb, high on the hill, down on the block. It is that kind of thing where, and uh, yeah, I know that. So when people think, well, how did that happen? She came from it. He had all this. That does not. That's not the protector you would think it necessarily would be, because this thing is advertised as something that is not. That's the
Well,
way.
it's not, but it's everybody doesn't have the equal vulnerability. So that's very important to know. So when we talk about, most folks have had some significant experience of sexual or violent sexual assault or some kind of gender-based assault prior to ever being coerced into trafficking. They've experienced, like I said, school push-out. They've had some instability in their family. In addition to what Megan said about their family being involved in trafficking them, it could also be someone else that they know. So it could be a boyfriend or someone that they think is a boyfriend, a girlfriend, an older woman who they respect and value. But there folks who are doing this are really looking at and recognize a vulnerable person. So they don't go after people who are real solid. They go after people who have vulnerabilities that already exist. And we know there's a playbook, right, that a man wrote when he was in prison, about how to pimp. And what he describes are some things that are very specific about the vulnerabilities of girls that you can get to do this.
Exploit. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oof. I was going to make the point about the family, Megan, and I know people literally that were born into it, right? That's the phrase I get from a lot of people. My daddy was a gang member, my uncle's a gang member, so they made me a gang member when I was a little boy. They put the red rag on my head, or they named me after that, and so I know people can get drawn into it, or I call it the mindset infected, right in their own families, and that's hard for people to hear, but it's we're all about truth too.
Well, and here's another truth in terms of that indoctrination. It's very normalized. It's very normalized that when you see black girls on the street, and when we talk about these kinds of things that are happening for black girls, that when even when someone is murdered and missing, the person that we're most likely to go look for is someone who was up in the hills, right? Or they came from up in the hills and they were lost jogging. But we're less likely to look for the black girl who, the police have said, that's why we have additional laws, that the police have said, oh, well, she probably ran away, or she's probably with her boyfriend or something. So, and then you layer in, economic circumstances, and then you layer in how she may or may not look or be sexualized. So that's an indoctrination that happened when we were born too, and that's societal. So I keep wanting to ground us in this societal piece that created these circumstances. It's not just families, it's not just a community. These things have existed for a long time. And if we're not challenging these systems, we're not going to make these changes. No matter how many kits we do, no matter how many centers we have, no matter how much street outreach, we're still going to have it. And another piece is if we're not addressing demand, so if we're penalizing the young people who are out there, the women who are out there on the streets, and we're not doing anything about the Johns, right? And there's nothing that happens to them and they get to walk away, then we're also not changing anything.
I both of those points, and uh, I know in many ways we are set up for these things to happen. In many ways, I mean, we're set up for all of these things to happen to young people. Societal factors, all of that, and that's what, like you say, makes it so difficult to counter. And that work is, I think, obviously part of the work to deal with those. The other part is to not get caught in the societal trap, is not to get caught in the societal trap. And I just knew me in my work with young people. That's what I do. I'm like, I can't change all of that, but I can keep you from getting caught in that web, which is obviously extremely tough to do, but can be done. This is, I don't know. There's so much here. What let's do let's stick with the prevention piece. Prevention piece. What would you, and we've heard about the dignity. The word I use, and Lady Estelle knows, I use the word value. That's my big word with my young girl. Your value, know your value, know your worth, so on and so forth, and having those conversations. But I'm gonna stay out what I do. I don't want anybody to get caught up in anything. Period. Especially my young baby girl. But what prevention things would you put? You got a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 13-year-old, you got a 14-year-old, you got a 15-year-old. They're out there. All this stuff is out there. And Missy, when you talk about social media and online, that's like magnified 5,000%, right? I mean, it's one thing for the kid at school, the uncle in the house, but now you go online, it just your job must be exponentially more difficult than it was before. I mean, that is like a gateway, I would believe.
Yeah. Did you say Missy or Mitzi?
Both of you.
Oh, okay.
All of you, just jump on in because people want, like Lady E asked, people want, what, and Corinne and Megan especially, what worked for you? See, what worked for you? And because I know one of the questions I asked, that the gentleman had the other night, how did you get out of that mindset? Because, he was going back and forth, and until his mindset changed and he was willing to, say, I'm out, for whatever reason, it was very different, but he did it. So you can talk about also what worked for you and what prevention ideas and strategies for young people, being able to spot it, talk about it, the whole thing.
Okay, I'll start with the prevention, because it sounds like you're talking about prevention, intervention, and then staying out. Yeah.
Because I get young people who are in it.
Yeah.
And I can't get out. No, yes, you
yeah.
can.
And I
Okay,
think that
let's
the
look at,
prevention
and I
is an
got young
important.
people who ain't in it at all, and I got to keep them from thinking that's the way to go. So yeah, that's
So
how.
prevention is an important question because it's easier to prevent than it is to get to someone on the side who's already in a system, right? That's not all. But the other thing is to understand this. None of this is inevitable. It's by design. And so if we think about it in that way, we start addressing the systems that create pathways into this. So, for example, and Mitzi was talking a little bit about this, that, we're in the schools because schools see most young people, right? And so, how do we support schools to identify? That we see a lot of young people who are, they're coming to school, they're dirty, they haven't eaten, they've got some stuff going on. So rather than kick them out because teachers aren't prepared to work with them, send them to us or have resources for them because I'll tell you there's a pimp outside waiting for them, right? And going to convince them, I got you, I'll get you clothed, right? But what if we did that first? What if we created circumstances so that they were safe and that they had a safe, healthy adult? What if we also, the other piece that's a prevention for us is that we do work with families. I mean, families are sometimes engaged in it, but not the entire family. So what if we identify safe adults in that family who can remain safe because they just needed housing, or they needed good food, or they needed to understand the danger that this child is in potentially, and how to extract them from that, right? Because we have a lot of moms, boyfriends out there, or partners who are involved in that, if not the trafficking, the assault, and the abuse. So how are we understanding what are the things that are precursors to eventual trafficking and addressing that? So I say schools and social systems that are true for anything. How can we allow them to cut SNAP? That's food. And when people don't have food, they do what they need to do to eat, right? And so when we talk about, we have young people whose people have said, you got to carry your weight. You got to figure out how to get the food yourself, right? You have to figure out how to do housing yourself. And when you have very few resources, you use the resource that you have at hand. And we have to create conditions that's not true. And I'll say this last thing about prevention. Again, with Lady Estelle, what you said, and I think that Mitzi and Corinne were like affirming just a moment saying, you're important. I care about you. I can direct you to someone who can give you support and resources. And that we have to insist that our cities and our communities put money into these kinds of things. So I had a lawmaker tell me, who's in Oakland, tell me, I can't worry about gender-based violence or girls being assaulted until we have black men shooting each other. Okay? That's
That's not
okay.
no. When I hear stuff like that,
But that's, I mean,
I don't
and
know
the
what to
room,
say
and the
about that.
room, there were
I
nods in the
I've heard
room,
that. I just like, what do you mean?
right? But
I can't do anything
because
about. That's like saying
certain
I can't
things
do anything.
become normalized, and it
It's
didn't
like
come up because we
doing the
hadn't pushed it,
thing.
and we said, "Where's the money for this?"
It's like saying I can't do anything about cancer, try to do something about HIV. I can't do anything. Medicine doesn't do that. Medicine takes care of all of it, right? I mean, it's just I hear stuff, and I've heard that before. What are you talking? Get
But
out of office.
how
Get
are
me
we
somebody.
protecting these folks, and how are we keeping these systems accountable? Right? Because we are having people going through foster systems and then into households that are not prepared to support them. And they're going into schools that are not prepared to support them. Or I've seen people in emergency rooms, you could tell they've been brutalized. And they sent them away. They sent them back out into the street. So how are we holding systems accountable? You can go from small to very large in terms of prevention, and you think about what would you want, what's the best thing that you would want for your child, and then you can ask that for this.
Lady E did something that is also against the grain, different. We live in a world, it ain't my business, right? Not my business. So uh you can hold all the schools accountable, the families accountable, I hold people accountable. It to me, it is your business.
Yes.
It is your business. It is definitely your business. You know, I hear that from people all the time. Well, I'm not getting invited. Nah.
Well, and we also, I mean, sometimes you can talk about the arc. So, this condition, what we're seeing, someone's out in the street, that's not my child, that's not my business. But when we think about it, because it is young women and young girls sometimes, and women who are raising children, who have the majority responsibility of children and families in our communities, right? And so if we're thinking, okay, this is a financial and social burden, what if we got it on the front end? What if we were making sure that she weren't assaulted and abused and traumatized? Then her capacity to parent and hold her community and be an anchor would be much stronger. So, there are all kinds of ways we can learn and understand how to engage this conversation, because one aspect of it is sex trafficking, but it's bigger and broader than
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just put my
Yeah.
mute on.
That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
To put all this out. Corinne, Megan, and Mitzi, you want to jump on here on the prevention thing, and I asked a question about the wake up call for you and how you got out. Please, if you don't mind, you could also talk about that.
So, for preventative for me, I just think about my kids, like my sons, and I'm thinking about how like at a young age you should have those uncomfortable conversations with them, because the school's not, and you're the best person to do it. So like having those conversations about sexuality and your body parts and things like that are very important for young growing boys, and preparing them for what they will be maybe exposed to in school or in the real world. So I think that's a good preventative. And then for me, what helped me get out, honestly, it was God for me, because it took years. Like even after I was like rescued, I went back out on my own, because I was like, how do I go back to regular life after this? So I went out trying to like normalize it. Then after that, I was getting into a lot of like really unhealthy relationships, and I just had to like get tired of it, honestly, and pray to God, like, okay, what's next? What do I do? How do I get from here? And then yeah, came here. So
Yep, I get it completely.
I
Megan?
think that you know, the sex trade in general is a product of inequality on multiple levels. It's a product of, people call it the oldest profession, and
In history.
or people say I say it's, and many others say it's the oldest oppression. And there's so much inequality. It's a result of racism, it's a result of misogyny. And because people, when they're in a position of inequality, whether that's economic, racial, not able to get a job, not being respected, then that becomes an alternative. And it does mostly become an alternative for women, which is also, it makes it kind of like a male supremacy issue, right? Because how often is a man told, well, if you need to pay rent, you can sleep with the landlord, or if you need to get this done, you can just go up on OnlyFans? And people make jokes about it, and it is so normalized of, oh, I could just jump on OnlyFans and make this money. And that shouldn't be a discussion when we're talking about how to make ends meet. So there's that. We need to remove those systems of inequality first and foremost. But that's a very long goal that at the moment is not, we're not progressing with that right now. But the other thing is just education on all levels, educating people on what trafficking is, and education on healthy relationships, education on the proper body parts, how to set boundaries, what good touch and bad touch is, and just knowledge is power, and education on all those levels, educating our first responders and our service providers on what to look for, and understanding like the victim perspective. when they are interacting with people, I think can be the biggest preventative. Um, I'm dealing with, I do community education and I'm putting out good information. And, I put it up on our social media, maybe gets a few likes or shares. And then I see a video about don't touch the paper towel on the gas station handle or something like that. And it gets a million shares. I'm like, that's just not, that's not how this happens. But that's what gets a million shares versus internet safety, healthy relationships. That's just not sensational, right? So it doesn't get shared, and it drives me insane. In terms of intervention for me, what made me leave is I was a little bit I met my trafficker when I was 19 and I was 24 when I left. So I think I just got to a place of realizing like this guy is all talk. He would tell me, "Oh, I'm going to go do this to your family or I'm going to do this or that." And eventually I realized like you're not going to do any of that and I'm out. and and it was just getting more dangerous. The death, he was like threatening to kill me more often. And so I just left and he didn't really do anything. And I was like, okay, I got this. Um, but I can also acknowledge that I'm still in a place of privilege, whereas most of my fellow survivors have arrest records. They were arrested while they were being trafficked. I didn't have that burden to overcome. It was a lot easier to get help. A lot of people were sympathetic towards me when I asked for help. And so I did have a community around me that, gave me a place to stay, helped me get food, helped me get clothes for a job interview. And I just went step by step, got back into school. But I know that's challenging for a lot of my fellow survivors who unfortunately still have things like a criminal record that's preventing them from getting jobs or, just not getting the same amount of empathy that they deserve. So,
I love getting in trouble. So we're having this conversation, and in the backdrop of, I mean, I haven't mentioned Diddy, but I could. I haven't mentioned R. Kelly, which I could. And I want people to understand, how big this stuff is, right?
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned Epstein, which I could, and I did. And I don't mention Mr. Orange, okay, because and so that just shows when you talk about how big this stuff is and who does it, and the exploitation that goes on, uh, and you talk about, you know, uh, it's not sexy, it's not this, and you put your little thing on it, and you don't get that. Uh, yeah, it's nuts. It's insane. It's cruel. It's sickening. Um, and so that's why I admire anybody that takes this on.
Yes.
Anything to do something for people, you know, uh, uh, because it just seems like. And let me go to the men for a minute. Let me just say this as a man. You probably know this, and Jennifer, you talk about the playbook. The stuff that men you talk about what to do with women is just,
Mm.
oh my God. I mean,
Terrible.
the game that we get to each other about women, and part of this is having men tell other men, "Oh, you crazy? Hell no." I mean, no. I mean, and men got to do that. Men have to tell other men, literally stop other men, because.
Mm.
And I just know I'm a guy. I know what I was told. You get this game from the OGs, and they tell you this. It is sickening. It's pitiful,
Yep.
and everybody. And I'm saying everybody's got to stand up, you know, and say no. Absolutely no. Um, it's huge.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just, anybody you can save, anybody that you can save from getting into it, anybody that you can say, if you can help get out of it, any man that you can stop from even thinking about exploiting, I mean, doing something like this, you're doing a huge service, because I mean, I got stories. And I'm one of them people that for some reason they, like Lady E, they tell me their stories. I mean, girls will come up and tell me this and tell me that. And later I'll say, I'll get you out. Whatever it is, tell me what you need to do. Um, so you want to say something, Megan?
Yeah, as I say, I think part of, you know, how the sex trade gets normalized, it does get normalized with, somebody was talking about buyers and accountability, right? A lot of times when I see an arrest of a trafficker, I'm like, okay, so are we arresting everybody that paid to sexually assault that victim? They should each be arrested, and that hardly ever happens. Um, and so there's this kind of normalization that they're just lonely, they're just looking for companionship. Women get lonely too. We don't buy people, we don't buy sex, we just, and so there's that. And advocates monitor hobby boards, so there are hobby boards where men, they leave reviews of their purchases, and in these reviews they're talking about, she looked young. This one I'm pretty sure is like, they brag about how young they are. That's a desirable trait. They know when there's a trafficker, they say, oh, her pimp was next door. They don't care. They're not naive. They know what they're doing. A lot of them talk about, oh, she's got an addiction. She passed out and I had to wake her up. That's sexual assault in California. That's illegal. You cannot um, have sexual activity with somebody who's under the influence, and they know that, and then they brag about how it was a great experience because she was so high and she was so out of it and she was so desperate. And so that's, there needs to be, there's this sense of entitlement, and I paid you and you're my property. And we know, like, over 92% of women in the sex trade are beaten, strangled, burned, or otherwise assaulted by their buyers, who maybe ask for one thing and then coerce them into another thing. And that's just not consensual. No matter what anybody says, that's not two consenting adults. That's not a friendly transaction. And if you're doing this out of poverty, then that's not a choice. And as Vanessa Russell says, that's a choice of no choices. And so I just think, again, that's also part of educating the public who does glamorize it. And whenever I do see an arrest in my community, and I am working with the local police department, because they, unfortunately, they arrest the buyer and they arrest the girl as well, and we're working on that, and trying to just go after the buyers. But then the jokes come, you know and it's just a joke to people, and I just don't think that they really understand the trauma that these women and girls are coming from and what they're experiencing. And so I think we have to remove the glamour and the slang from it, and really educate people on what these women are going through.
You said that very well.
Yeah.
Remove the glamour because it ain't glamorous. It's
Yeah,
not.
because I know a lot of like young girls who, even though they're like, shouting about like, I got this, I got that, and they love being a 304. If you actually get down to talking to them, they do not love it. Like
Right.
they're going through all types of mental warfare and spiritual warfare. So nobody who says that they like being out there actually likes being out there. If you have to be drunk, high, or if you're doing it for, like she said, food, or it's not a choice. You really don't want to. Nobody does.
Woo!
It's so
What
hard, but I'm
what
happy that we are able
is
to
a
talk.
304?
Pager code,
Like
Megan.
Megan said, the slang for HOE. So if you look at the letters 304, it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
help me, Jesus.
that's
You
what they're
know, I
calling
don't.
it. Like if you go on TikTok, they even have a hashtag for 304 TikTok. Like it's not cute. And they know it's
Exactly.
not cute. They're just trying to normalize it. Like when I
Ah,
went back out there myself trying to make it normal, that's exactly what it was. Me trying to make it normal. It wasn't that I liked it. It wasn't that, that's what I thought I was capable of. It's that I was trying to normalize it so I felt better about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I am glad that you made it, that the light came on,
Thank you.
that you are standing for holding the light for others so that they can see the fact that you went, sat down, and had a conversation with people and sent them on their way. putting yourself in that place
Yes. Thank
and
you.
then saying, you know, this is not the place where you need to be. You
Yeah.
need to, that's powerful. So for each of you, the work that you're doing is amazing. It's wonderful. Your journey. Sometimes we look at our lives and we say, Lord, what were you thinking? Yet, hear what we find ourselves doing because of where we've been and where we are now. We can hold the light and stand tall in the dark and turn on the light. Yeah, you thought nobody was watching, but we watching you. This is not where you're supposed to be. So I am just really grateful that you are here to tell the story, that you are
Thank
here to do the work that you do, and all that you've said and all that you've shared, and all of those whose lives that you will touch. I just encourage you to keep holding the light.
You, you,
Keep
you.
holding the light.
you
Thank
know,
you.
I really like a lot of this, what you said. You got to talk to young people about everything, and the stuff they don't get talked about is the problem. Is the one that's probably, you know, going. Nobody ever talked to me about. I can't tell you, and you know this, lady, how many times working with young people I said, well, if I had known, if I had known better, I'd have done better. If somebody just talked to me about it, somebody said, I wish somebody had. I wish somebody had, and the notion, the importance of having conversations with young people about all of this stuff, about all of it. I just, and that's all we do. All we do is talk about it. They say, Doug, well, you keep it real. You keep it real. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about everything because I don't want you to get caught up in any of this. And we talk to young boys, we talk to young girls, and we devote all our time to this. And lady, when they come on Tuesday night and even on the show, we so happy to hear you. You all right? You all right? You all right? And always checking to see if they are all right. You know, and that it's got to start there. And the thing is, they may not be getting it at home. They certainly schools for some reason don't want to talk about any of this stuff, right? It's like, oh, I'm not paid to do that. I'm gonna tell you, I've heard so much because both of us are teachers. We're teachers, right? Uh, is what we as individuals can do to to talk to young people about all of this stuff, all of this stuff. Um, and use the word dignity. I use the word value. And you know how I'm about them when them my girls come. Oh my God! Look, you think I'm all a daddy? I'm everybody's daddy. I mean, I'm gonna take care of all y'all. Don't let nobody. And but that's just me because all I know how to be is a father and a teacher, right? And so, um, and when you have organizations like you who are willing to do that, I just wish there was, people value human beings, and at this point, people value money. they, they value money. This is about power, domination, control, and materialism. It's not about people. It's not about human beings. That's the way this horrible society functions. And and to catch somebody in spite of that, or help somebody in spite of that. Because one thing I know that in my experiences I've learned when if they can get it, they can. Maybe everything around them hasn't changed, but they can. They can. Like it's like I got young people who grew up in the hood and never got caught up, right? Well, because they were they learned, and they had this somebody telling them, and without judgment. That's the other phrase I've been trying to throw in the whole time. Without judgment, and I hope that makes sense to you. Without judgment. Um, got anything you want to add? Because go ahead, lady. You got to unmute, huh?
I am still stuck on not a friendly transaction. You know, some of the things that you all hear that I'm just incensed. I'm just like I can't straighten up my face. What do you mean? Because he paid. What? I would not be a good one. Like you got me messed up. You mean, what do you mean? Are you crazy right now? I'm just like, oh, but I also recognize that the looks, that whole sign that says, I am a target. I am vulnerable right now. I know what that looks like, and I know what can happen when you are vulnerable. And what does that mean? See, these are the things that kids need to hear. When you're walking around sad and you've got that whole sad look, there are people just waiting for that look. And they've got something for that look. I understand that, but because I've been approached because I had that sad look. I thought, just walking around the store feeling really sad. And then somebody walks up to me and then I go like, "Are you what?" Then my whole face is like, "No, you must be tripping." But
And we're talking about young people. We're
it's
talking
just it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And so you have really helped me because I'm in Texas. I'm not in the Bay Area. Yeah. Because see, in the Bay Area, just about anybody, if they don't know my face, they recognize my voice. And for me to walk up and say something like, "Oh, wait a minute," they're gonna say, "That's Miss Estelle." And
that's that
but
lady from Street Soldiers.
that's that lady on the radio.
Video.
But see, in Texas, they don't know that I'm the one that's gonna walk up and say, "Well, where are you supposed to be right now? Aren't you supposed to be in school right now?" You know what I'm saying? This is a whole different breed down here. Okay. So she was just shocked out of her mind when I said, "Are you okay? Are you sure?" You know? So yeah, it's like how I need to have what they said, that 2-minute elevator conversation. I need to have a 15-second something that's going to get them to go in. Just pause just for a minute and think. Did you think about what you're doing? Did you think about what can happen if you go? So if you get in that car, did you think about do you know who they are? Somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because see, I don't have that kind of time here like I did there. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Dr.
Well,
Jennifer.
but
I see you.
but you can also add, and guess what? It matters to me.
Mm,
Ah,
What happens to you matters to me.
okay. Thank you for that.
yes.
Anything,
And see, and that's the truth. It's crazy because it does matter to me. These kids that I see, yes, it matters to me. And they don't know that it matters, but it does because I see them. I
I
see them when nobody else sees them.
I think the part of adding the it matters to me, that creates a safe place for somebody to share it. They might not want to share what's going on, and they might not feel like they have a safe space. But if we show that by just saying, "You matter to me, I care,"
Mm,
it takes the judgment away because that's not what we're here to do. Like we don't
Thank you
we're
for that.
here to be there, to care, to show love, and to
Yeah.
provide support. I think that's the most important thing to just be there and meet people where they're at, not assuming what we think they should be doing or what we think is the right next step for them, but asking them like, what can I do to help you? Like, what do you need in this moment? Like, what are your needs that I can help you with? Like, I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Missy,
To
That. Thank you so much for that.
I know with me in encountering things like this, what I usually get, why you doing this? Why you doing this? What's in it for you? wasn't in it for me. I mean, they are so used to people. They don't trust anybody. They like, you gonna be like everybody else, or you gonna leave and go away like everybody else did. And but when you know the dynamics, uh, and but I know for me, I trust in my good intentions and my genuineness, and hope that will resonate, because I call young people who get into this all of this. A lot of times they're what I call throw up on you. You know, you get in there and all that stuff comes out on you, and you're the good intentioned person. You getting everything like they don't say that, but and I always say, if you just recognize it's like going into the doctor's office and that bad stomach, and they have thrown up, right? And that's all it is. As Monica said years ago, don't take it personal. Wipe it off, and then like, I ain't going nowhere. So, they'd be like, what? You ain't going nowhere? I thought I ran you away. No, baby, you ain't running me away. Now, look, let's go. All of that's in there. All of that's in there. And it's being, to me, it's being non-judgmental and being patient. And under all of that, Megan and Corinne, there is the real you. Under all of that is what's there. And it's just got dumped on, right? And exploited and all of that. And I learned that a long time ago from teaching working young people, seeing them when they were young, little kids, and then getting caught up and seeing them later. But I know how you really are. I know how you really are. You can't fool me. You can't fool me. I was your teacher in the sixth grade. I know how you are, right? And but everybody like that. It's there. And they show you the picture. They show you the picture in the third grade. That's really, you. So if we could just take that, people, not just all of us, could take that. There's a human being in there, right? Who deserves everything, and uh, we can do a lot. We can do a lot. We can do a lot. And
I think, oh, sorry.
go ahead.
um, I think that's another part of why, I think like our street outreach programs are so important and meeting people where they're at, because a number that says, for one, I graduated high school in 2009. That's when I met my trafficker, right? So that was a long time ago. Human trafficking wasn't in my vocabulary. Never heard of it until after I got out. But seeing, are you a victim of human trafficking? Call this number. If they don't know what human trafficking is, that's no good. That doesn't work, because I didn't know what it was. I could have seen that sign and not known that that was what was happening to me. I thought I was earning my keep. I thought I was, I owed something to somebody. And so there's that, but that street outreach is where we, ask those questions and see somebody in their environment and see those red flags, see them out on the track and say, are you keeping your money or is somebody else taking your money? And then those kinds of questions. And then we say, okay, well, we can help you. You deserve to get paid for the work you're doing. I worked as a mental health first responder, like a mental health crisis responder. So I would respond out to 911 calls, and I would have a couple cases of women who were doing housework and not getting paid. Right? I clean this house all day in exchange. I get to shower and stuff like that. But I can't leave until 5 o'clock, basically when all services are closed. And so I told this woman, I said, did you know that like the average housekeeper gets paid X amount of dollars? And she's like, what? Like she didn't know that she wasn't getting paid fairly. She thought that them keeping her passport was a common practice. She didn't know any better. All right. But she, again, if she had seen that number, she wouldn't have known to call. And so that's also why we need to do that, meeting people where they're at. And again, it goes back to education. But a lot of times when I see these PSA campaigns that just have a title and a number, I'm like, that only does so much good, right? So definitely trying to meet people where they're at, I think is key and so important. And just letting people know that they matter.
Not only do folks not know what it means, but a lot of people it doesn't relate to them. So trafficking, sex, that's not, it's just like, I'm getting over on these dudes, and I got this person and so I think it's also connecting with people about in ways in which it's like, what do you need, like you were saying, or what's going on?
Yeah. How you
Well,
doing?
because I think a lot of folks know what's going on. They don't know pathways out. They don't know resources or other opportunities. And I think that's we have to think of not what's our best idea, but do they say is going to be most useful to them. And you said you were wanted to talk about the ordinances or
Yeah,
policies.
thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. What laws are currently you see helping uh, with this with human trafficking? Are they getting, yeah, in your opinion?
So I can tell you something that is worth looking at for folks who are in Oakland. Um, there's a new ordinance being sponsored by Charlene Wong, and Kevin Jenkins, and it is it's a couple of things, but one is that's most important that I think about and that we've been talking about here is that it's taking responsibility off folks who are being prostituted, and putting it on Johns and Pimps.
I like that.
So
That a lot.
it's imperfect, but I think it's a consideration. So the idea is that they will be fined, and they will be fined. Actually, the fine is pretty high. It's $4,000. But the Pimps and Johns will be fined if caught, and then businesses will be held responsible. So the accountability, I think, is an important piece. And the other significant part of that ordinance is that the money would go to programs like ours. So, like Love Never Fails, Missy, I think Dream Clinic, that provide services for young people. So there's a recognition that there should be a service orientation, and those are the positive things about it. There's some challenges around making money off of prostitution. Like we would still be getting money off of something that we're trying to eliminate. But I just think it's a forward movement. Talking about how we have to have accountability in the demand side.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's coming up this week on Tuesday. So that's coming up for vote on Tuesday.
Yeah. You have to see how that moves forward or doesn't move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, so the city council is supposed to vote today. I mean, sorry, on Tuesday. And then I think, if folks want to be there, if they want to speak, you can call in, you can be present, you can speak out about it. It's changed some of the loitering language that we have on the books. So I think it's worth considering, taking a look at.
Megan, Corinne, Mitzi, anything you want to add as we end this wonderful just
I think some of the laws that we've passed have moved towards that equality model. And I was in the last press conference in Oakland, and I submitted my digital comment for my support for those ordinances. We've got, it's been a law for quite some time now. Minors can no longer get charged with the crime of prostitution. We now have some laws that make soliciting a minor a felony option. There's still some exceptions, but for the most part now, even if you make the offer to a minor, you can be charged with a felony. But there is no strict liability, right? So you could still use I didn't know she was a minor as a defense. So, again, it's not perfect. Multiple offenses. Now you could be registered as a sex offender if you're continuously soliciting minors. And so we are starting to, I'm starting to see that shift of putting things on the buyer, the demand, the person who is keeping this industry alive. And now also, I think it was in 2023, if you're convicted of trafficking, you'll also be a registered sex offender. So those are things that we're seeing, and we're starting to acknowledge that charging the victim with a crime is not helping. And it's going to make it even harder for them to get out and re-enter society, right? With a criminal record. And so we're getting there, but we're still not all on the same page when it comes to our different cities and law enforcement and stuff like that. We just need to get on the same page. There was going to be a diversion piece in the law that passed. It went into effect on January 1st, which is what makes it a crime to loiter with intent to buy. There was originally a piece that would have offered diversion for any woman who was arrested for solicitation. That was taken out. So we're trying to get that reintroduced this legislative session as its own bill. So that would be helpful.
These are county ordinances, or are they
These
yeah.
are state laws. Yeah.
State laws. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So the one I was talking about is city,
Yeah, city,
but
right. Yeah,
Megan's talking about the state.
Yeah. I'm talking about different things that have been passed into law within the last like 5 years or so.
I didn't know all of that. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. It really is.
Megan, can you say more about the diversion piece? Because I think that that's really, really important, and it hit a lot of folks when it wasn't included well when we first started with a lot of policies.
Yeah, so AB 379, that was Maggie Krell's bill, and it was a couple different pieces. One was, so there was SB 1414, which was passed the year before, that said it was a felony to solicit anybody 16 or 15 and younger. And you could be registered as a sex offender if it was your second offense and you were over 10 years older, and, really big loophole still. 379 said any minor. A minor is a minor. A minor can't consent. And so then now it is a felony to solicit a minor unless you're less than 3 years younger. So that would give some grace to an 18, 19, 20-year-old, right? So it was that part, make soliciting any minor a felony. The second part was make it a crime to loiter with intent to purchase. So that's only on the buyer, right? If you're in that area, you're talking to whoever's out there, you could be charged with a crime. And then the third part was that if you were arrested for the crime of prostitution, I try not to use that word, sorry, but if you were arrested for that crime, you could be offered diversion to help, if you refuse to identify as a victim or are identified as a victim for some reason, there would be some type of diversion for you to help, again, remove that stigma of having that solicitation charge. And that part is what got dropped off the bill when it passed. But it also did increase fines overall on hotels that are complicit. So now this legislative session, Maggie Carell is hoping to bring it just a solo bill with nothing else on it to provide diversion services for those charged with the crime of prostitution.
I like all of this. I really do.
You guys are doing some amazing.
The law's trying to catch up.
Yeah.
They're trying to do something.
So important what you're doing.
Mitzi or Corinne, anything you want to get in that you haven't been able to do so, and leave us with anything that you wish.
I think Jennifer and Megan definitely covered the policies and advocacy that has been going on as of the recent past few years. And I do think that there is another the TSRA, which is the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act. I think that is also right now in the process of being signed into law. So that is a pathway for survivors of trafficking to clear certain criminal records that are directly associated with their exploitation. So another kind of step towards legislation that is going to support survivors. And I think that there's still so much that we can do. And a lot of times what's difficult is sometimes we don't even understand like some of the legislation and how it's worded. And I
Got
know,
that
yeah,
right.
and we have at Love Never Fails our AI advocate, and I believe Megan, you're on our AI advocate board, right? Yeah, so they definitely help. They utilize like AI to make the laws more understandable so we can understand and have the survivor voices kind of dissect the laws that are being passed and how they might affect survivors. But I think, even that um, is really important to talk about.
Thank you. Corinne, we're
And,
going to give you
and
the
just a note, TSRA was signed on Friday.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
breaking news. Thank
I
you.
think that they pretty much covered everything. I did just want to say again, we just had a panelist or viewing event of this film called Buying Her. It's a documentary, but it's from the John standpoint. And a lot of them were talking about how it started when they were younger, started off with pornography and or their dads taking them and having those conversations that you said that men have about women. And so I just wanted to say again that it's very important to like instill in young boys as well, not just the women, but young boys about, sexuality and how to treat a woman and what somebody shouldn't show you and what's your body part and stuff like that. So yeah.
And, I've spoken with some local law enforcement. They've pulled over 17-year-old buyers, right? 17 years old out there looking, and that's such a tricky situation because say you do purchase sex with this woman, well, you're also underage. So now we also have like this statutory rape situation. It's just so complicated. But at 17 years old, you're trying to purchase affection and intimacy, and like what went wrong to where you didn't have somebody to show you how to form your own relationship. I mean, it just really says a lot.
I just gotta say for all of you, and I know I just speak for me, it's so much joy and fun having conversations about all of this with young people. You think they don't want it? They want it. They do. They want it. They want to have it. They want to talk about it. What you think? Then they ask you what you think. When they ask you what you think, well, let me tell you. But what do I say, Ann? I have a strict thing. I don't want young people to do what in this case is me, Dr. Marshall, because I said it. I want you to come to conclusions that we all agree to certain things. And that's what's fun is having these conversations and end up saying, yeah, well, 2 plus 2 really is 4, you know. And that is it's just great. And you know that because you work with them. But being able to do that all the time, every week, being able to do this on the radio, being able to have these conversations. And I just want to, encourage everybody out there, have the conversation,
Yes.
have the conversation. Last thing you want is it's nobody ever talked to me about this. That's the one thing you don't want to hear. Lady E, you want to wrap it up?
There is nothing more to be said other than thank you for what you do.
Yep, yep, yep. Keep it up. Gotta say thank you again. This has been so much of this 2 hours. Oh Lord, it's been great. By the way, our show is seen all over the what world?
All over the world in over 50 countries.
So, in case somebody calls you from Pakistan because they need it over there, they probably saw it right here on Street Soldiers. Okay. Good night. Let's get back
Thank
out
you.
there
All right,
and
thank
keep
Thank
it
you.
you.
right for the young people.